We want no aluminum in the vaccine. The MMR, I think, should be taken separately. This is based on what I feel is climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. The carbon footprint is a hoax made up by people with evil intentions.
Man, President Trump there making several striking false claims last week, and none of them supported by data that the scientific community find credible. The rhetoric and that of members of his administration contributes to what my next guests call a global anti-science campaign in their new book, Science Under Siege. Dr. Peter Hotez and Dr. Michael Mann join us now. Dr. Hotez, you specialize in vaccine development and disease. Dr. Mann studies climate change. And you explain how these two threats are linked together. You write, quote, we find ourselves facing not just a 1-2 punch of pandemics and the climate crisis, but a 1-2-3 punch with that third punch, anti-science, obstructing the needed response from government and civil society. Dr. Hotez, can you give us a quick overview of what you call the 5 major players contributing to anti-science?
Yeah, the point is, Jake, it is a whole ecosystem, and the 5 Ps, and credit to Michael there, he loves the alliteration. That's the plutocrats, people like Elon Musk, the Koch brothers, the petrostates, and even the far right part of the United States resembles a petrostate. The pros, the credentialed talking heads that we see too often pushing misinformation, the propagandists who amplify it, and then the press, and not just the far-right press, the Murdoch media empire, but even some of the false equivalency given by some of the legacy media.
And Dr. Mann, you called the threats of climate change and pandemics inextricably interwoven. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. Good to be with you. So they're interwoven in the sense that the climate crisis and environmental degradation is actually leading to the conditions that favor these novel pandemics, these novel viruses, COVID-19. We expect more of this in the future, in part because of the aggravating effects of climate change. And so these things are coupled. Climate change is a crisis on its own. Pandemics are a crisis on their own. And indeed, misinformation, disinformation, and the promotion of anti-science is making it impossible for us to tackle either or any of the great challenges that we face today. And that's really the point. Anti-science has become deadly.
Dr. Mann, let's dive a little deeper into the petrostates, Saudi Arabia or Texas, I suppose, as 2 examples. States or countries that rely heavily on fossil fuels. One of the most prominent, of course, is Russia. President Trump recently called for the EU to place sanctions on Russian oil as a way to place more pressure on Putin in his war in Ukraine. Now, in your book, you make the claim that Russia once again, this is a quote now, Russia once again interfered in the 2024 U.S. presidential election on Trump's behalf, and arguably was the primary reason he prevailed. Explain what you mean by that, because just to be clear, you're not talking about anybody hacking the election, but you are talking about an influence campaign. So explain that.
Indeed. And this is something we see from these petrostates, from Russia, from Saudi Arabia. They have sought to sort of poison the well when it comes to global efforts to move away from fossil fuels towards renewable energy, because, of course, these are countries whose economies are fundamentally dependent on the extraction and sale of their fossil fuels. And one of the tactics that they've used is to weaponize social media, Twitter, Facebook, to use social media to create just an overwhelming echo chamber of anti-science, to create conflict, to sort of confuse the discussion and make it very difficult for these social media platforms to be the sort of public square where scientists can communicate the science and its implications to the public. They've done everything to use social media really to magnify misinformation and disinformation, all in service of this agenda to paralyze efforts to move away from fossil fuels, and indeed this ideologically driven agenda now to discredit public health scientists like Peter And in the book, we talk about why and how these things are interlinked and why it's all part of one larger campaign to basically just prevent any meaningful dialogue that will lead to solutions to these problems that we face.
And Dr. Hotez, some of the five forces, the 5 Ps, can blend together. The plutocrats especially can weave their influence into politics and propaganda. Tell me how you saw that escalate during the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, we saw this when 200,000 Americans died, Jake. 200,000 because they refused COVID vaccines. And it wasn't random. This was a targeted political campaign that convinced Americans that COVID vaccines didn't work. In their push against vaccine mandates, which you could kind of understand, they actually discredited the effectiveness and safety, and Americans died in droves. So this is why we care. It's become a killing, a lethal force.
Science Under Siege. It's available now. Dr. Peter Hotez, Dr. Michael Mann, thanks for joining us. Our